Today on Encore, the actor Matt Dillon on his new divisive role in the movie The House That Jack Built.
That was maybe a mistake.
What was maybe a mistake?
Me getting in this car with you. You might as well be a serial killer. Sorry, but you do kind of look like one.
Matt Dillon, when you got this script and it was from the director Lars von Trier, what went through your head?
Well, I was surprised just because it's always surprising when you get a script from a great director, and he's a great director. But I was intrigued because he makes films that are not like other films. I had worked with Stellan Skarsgård as a director, and he always spoke very highly of him. So, and I liked his films. I like Lars's films.
The Danish provocateur Lars von Trier is loved and hated for making shocking cinema. The House That Jack Built follows Jack over 12 years as he carries out a series of killings, each of which he believes is a work of art. Some have called this movie a masterpiece, while others walked out in disgust. I found it very hard to watch, especially when children are being killed. What did you think when you first saw it?
Well, I didn't want to see the film when I finished it. And not because I didn't have I had fun making the film, with the exception of the scene you just mentioned. That was very difficult for me. And I was afraid, really, mostly primarily because of that scene. And I was really afraid that I would reject seeing myself play Jack. But Lars was insistent that we sit and watch the film together. And I was very relieved when I saw the film that I didn't have that experience, that I was able to see that Jack is it's not who I am. Some people claim that the atrocities we commit in our fiction are those inner desires which we cannot commit in our controlled civilization. So they are expressed instead through our art. I don't agree. I believe heaven and hell are one and the same. The soul belongs to heaven and the body to hell. I think that there are some very difficult parts of the film, that's without question. But I think there's also a lot of absurdity and black comedy, and it's a film about many things. And so with regards to there were two scenes that I think, the scenes with the children, there's a scene with his girlfriend, played by Riley Keough, that those scenes were the ones I had difficulty with to watch. If you feel like screaming, I definitely think that you should. Those scenes in the film actually really have the strongest message about the irony of what's happening. So Jack is talking about he's talking about guns and violence and the immorality of killing and hunting, and it's hypocritical. And so it's such a bizarre, and it really is, I think, an allegory for what's happening in America, the collective conversation about gun control. It was like back and forth with absurd rationalizations about it. And then in the end, there's another incident, another tragic incident, another school shooting, So I as much as I had difficulty with that scene, because I know, I have a lot of empathy. I'm a human being. I have the normal reactions that most people have, and Jack is a sick person.
They do say that art reflects life, and I know Lars von Trier has said that the rise of evil in the film was inspired by the rise of Donald Trump. We're also living in a time where women are standing up against the men that hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the film's talking about those things?
Well, I think we have to put it into the context of who Jack is, that he is a sick person who, in the end, is a mass murderer, and that's who that character is. So he's beyond hurting women. I mean, he's a killer, And, but I think absolutely that you see this misogynistic streak that comes through, not in every scene, because Jack is many things, because Jack has no core himself. And in some ways there's a part of him that's like an empty vessel. He's many different things, I really think I deserve better than this.
It's of absolutely no importance to me.
Is it too much to fucking ask that the contents of the box match what's written on the label? I don't think the irony is lost on the filmmaker when Jack is ready to kill this woman, his victim, that he starts to feel sorry for himself and starts to say that he's the victim and that it's very unfair. I mean, it's absurd. I mean, he's saying these things as he's ready to kill this woman, And I think that's important that people see that. And I think that whole sequence it's clouded by the sensationalism and with the brutality, but really it's an allegory for justice and the apathy, And he says nobody cares. Well, nobody does care, really. I mean, what's going on around us, right? People are outraged by this movie, but they're not necessarily outraged by the barrel bombs being dropped on children in Syria and all these other things that are happening on the planet. So I think that it's okay to be disturbed by the movie. I think that was intentional. But maybe, people ought to redirect their outrage and anger toward real things, because nobody was hurt making this movie. It's a work of art.
Not even the duckling?
No. No humans and no animals were harmed making this movie.
Is it a difficult time to be a man in the film industry with Me Too and Time's Up, or a man in general?
Well, I think it's always a difficult time to be anybody in the film industry, because it's very competitive. It's a very difficult business, and it's not a meritocracy, right? The film business, you don't get rewarded for doing the right thing or doing good work, right? That's the unfortunate part of it. So it's hard. Is it harder to be a man than a woman? Or is it harder to, no, I think it's difficult for everybody, I think.
Matt Dillon became a household name after Francis Ford Coppola's The Outsiders in 1983, before his big breakthrough in Drugstore Cowboy in 1989.
It just seems like the other day I was
like anybody, never.
He also starred in films such as There's Something About Mary and Crash. You were nominated for an Oscar for your part as a racist police officer in Crash a while ago now, in 2004. When you made that film, were you hoping for more progress to have taken place when it comes to institutional racism, police brutality, gun violence?
Mm-hmm. I mean, the world's a mess, and it's always been a mess. And all we can do is all we can do is our part, right, as human beings, and to keep our side of the street clean, And I think that's how I approach life. I try not to figure out some things. Yeah, I think it is it's very troubling when you see real ignorance in the world and this real backwards thinking. It's like we've made great progress in so many areas, and yet people still are ignorant, and they are afraid and angry and channeling their anger in the wrong directions,
At the beginning of your career, you were dubbed a bit of a heartthrob in films like Tex and The Outsiders. You broke away from that role, though, playing drug
You don't
addicts.
think I'm a heartthrob anymore?
You are a heartthrob, a different sort of serial killer type of heartthrob now. You played a drug addict, a con artist, a racist cop, now a serial killer.
That sounds like a rogue's lineup, you know?
Why was it important for you to get away from this poster boy James Dean type image? And are you glad that you did?
Well, you know, I never really embraced any kind of, maybe that was a mistake, but I never embraced kind of having an image, you know? I never really, for me, I just wanted to do good work. I didn't become an actor because I wanted to be on the center stage, really. I became an actor because I was interested in seeking the truth somehow. And that might sound pretentious, but that's really true. I mean, I did my first film because the character I thought was real. And I've always looked for kind of verisimilitude and truth in film, in storytelling, and the characters that I play, so.
Where are you going to go from here? What's next?
From next, I have a documentary that I have to finish. I also do that, you know, I do different things. I'm making a documentary film about Cuban music, about a Cuban singer that I knew. So it's a personal film. In a way, I'll be in it, myself in it, as a part of that film. Yeah.
Okay, Dylan, thank you.
Nice to meet you. When I think about all the things I've done in my life without in any way resulting in punishment,